And we are live for another Columbia Tools edition. We got Itzcali Construction to talk about the throttle box. How you doing, man?
How's it going, guys? Good, man.
I love this thing.
Oh yeah, that's a game changer, man. You know, that tool, man, it's probably, I would have to say that tool makes it so much different. It's just night and day difference.
What were you using before?
We were using a level 5
Hmm,
box,
an angle
and it
box.
did great. Yes, and it did great, but this one just takes it to the whole nother level. And the reason for it, I think that those springs, man, in the back is just the way that they were engineered is just insane, man. Yep, exactly. It gives it that perfect pressure. You don't even have to apply that much pressure. If your mud consistency is just to the T, man, it runs so smooth.
So I call that painting. When I started
Yep.
getting good at it, or when I was attempting to get good at it, I should say, I started coloring the mud. And when you get that consistency right, you're just touching the wall and running the tool, and it's just doing its job. The mud
Yep.
consistency has a lot to do with it, but that fighting everybody's done with angle boxes, I never experienced it. This is my first one, so I kind of lucked out on that.
Yeah. I mean, it's that much different, man. We typically, man, the way that we run it is we'll have two guys, right? We'll have a guy on stilts running the top. That way he can wipe and everything on the top. And then
Nice.
we'll have the guy in the bottom. He'll just do the bottom section and then wipe whatever's down there. And normally, it's either myself or my brother on the stilts, and then we'll have my old man in the bottom. And man, he was struggling so much with our level 5, like
Yeah.
struggling. And then when it came down to the Columbia one, man, he was so happy and excited. He's like, dude, I can use this all day, no problems.
This thing's awesome. Yeah. That is the biggest feedback that I get from the throttle box is that it's not the angle box. The amount of pressure that you've got to put on it. Like they stopped those angled handles were like a necessary thing prior to having the springs. And
Yep.
I've never run this with an angled handle. I've just got it on a Columbia one, an extendable. I've got one that goes to 7, and I've got the regular 3 to 5, I think. And I've
Uh,
never had any issues with it. Um,
right.
yeah, we're getting a little tall now. A lot of the stuff I'm doing now with this new company, they're all 10 footers, so you're reaching
Mhm.
pretty good. But that extendable handle really kind of comes into play there. Okay, so
Oh
let's get
yeah.
into this. What's your process now with your angle heads? Now that you're running angle heads, with the throttle box, are you wiping behind your bazooka with a angle head?
Yeah, so what we do is we typically will run the bazooka, we'll run the angle head.
Hmm.
I mean, sorry, the roller and then the angle head.
Yeah.
And typically, we do like a 2 inch on that.
Hmm.
And then what we do with the angle box is we run it with the 3 inch.
Yeah.
And I just feel like the 3 inch, man, is just so perfect because I mean, I don't know what you guys use, but we use the 3 inch, and I feel like it's easier on the angle. So like if, for example, if it's off a little bit, I think it just fits so perfect in there, man.
Yeah, jumping from a 2.5 to a 3, I felt like, sorry, jumping from a flusher to a 3.5 was rough. So I started doing the 2.5 to a 3.5. But for a long time I did all three. I was doing two coats after. When you're bringing in that 2.5 angle head, it's starting to build that little crest of
Yep.
like your perfect angle. And then when I was running my 3, it would just build it up, and the 3.5 was almost nothing on top of it. It's like running a 14-inch box over like a 12 run. It's not hardly doing anything, but what it is doing is it's the final touch kind of thing.
Yep. Correct. Correct.
Hmm. Yeah, very
No,
cool,
yeah.
man. Oh. Um, so it's cutting your time down big time. Did you ever do tubes, or did you go right into angle boxes?
I've never done those, man.
Yeah,
And
okay.
I see like a lot of people taping with, like with banjos,
Hmm.
um, and I've seen them use those Can-Am stuff. I've never used none of that stuff, man. I just hopped right into the bazooka boxes, angle heads, all that. And so, like, when I see that, man, sometimes I'm like, gosh, like, I don't know, man. I personally think like it would just slow me down so much more.
Oh,
I
a
think.
100%. So when you're running a tube and a flusher, you're running the tube, getting the mud on the wall, and then coming back and running a flusher. When you skip that whole process, it's like two, three times faster.
Right?
Yeah, you're not stopping. Yeah, I'm not sure it would be like a three times faster kind of thing, but like there's no possible way of doing what an angle box can do for you when you're flushing like that by hand. There's
Yeah.
there's a couple of things like even running boxes. There are guys out there that can run trowels really well, but not on a ceiling. You know what I mean? Like, no, I guess if you had stilts, but like just the angle box is absolutely one of those things that it's like you could not do that at that speed, no matter by hand. It would be very, very hard. And then,
Yeah.
the next step up from that is using one of the tubes. And then this is even faster than that. It's very impressive that you went right to the big tools. Meg's Drywall did the same thing at that event we just did. Was the first time she used a tube, and she's like a 20-year taper. Went right to the rocket launchers. Yeah.
And I mean, it's just because I saw it that way. I always
Mhm.
saw it that way, and so I was like, I'm just gonna hop right into this. And now that I see people like you say using those, I'm like, gosh, like, for the money, man. I mean, it's to me, it's so much cheaper, man, because I
Yeah.
mean, it saves you so much time. I mean, you just hop on over to the next job, man, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, when you were like stuck down in that crevice the other day and you're still running the Predator up, and I'm like, that a boy. It's faster. I don't care what anybody says. Like to
Yeah,
get in there with like a tube or whatever, do it by hand. No, just fight with it for 5 seconds and then it's done. You can move
yeah.
on. That was impressive. I like that.
Yeah,
Uh,
man, because I was always curious, my brother, he can run the banjo, man, like
it's
super
fast.
well,
Yeah, it's pretty
super
fast.
fast. Yeah, and he does really well, you know. But by the time that you load that thing back up, you change the tape, I think the
Yeah.
bazooka man is just like you're that much faster, you know?
It I feel like if you were to pick something to learn from the get-go, the bazooka is obviously the go-to.
Yeah.
To run a super taper or to run a banjo from the beginning, if money wasn't an option. It's those big, what I call the big tools, but like the big price point tools, they're
Mhm.
they're that way for a reason. It's
Yeah.
that Predator is amazing. Even the short ones. Meg was talking about that. It's a little bit lighter, it's a little bit easier to learn off of or whatever, but it's a fucking game changer.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, I guess I've never really even looked at prices when it comes down to like, for example, from you buying the tube,
Hmm.
buying the little angle thing that they use the Can-Am. I honestly don't know how much more is it really for like for you to buy the the throttle box, you know?
So that set that we gave away at the last event, I think it's something like $1,600. And you could definitely get into a throttle box with a pole, probably a single angle head. You're right around the same. The thing that those other kits do is they got flat applicators. Like Columbia's commando set is just the same, where they've got a flat
Yeah.
applicator and inside and all that other kind of stuff. But I mean, the first time that you get the mud right and you run a throttle box around a house and you're like, that was like 2 hours and it's all done.
Yeah.
That makes it very clear why you paid that a little bit of extra money, right? It's um and same with the angle heads too. Like they sent me these first, and I
Uh-huh.
was using it with the tube, and then I was putting mud on with the tube, and then just using this off of a pole. When
Okay.
they asked me to come back for Throttlebox month, it was like that was the key to the whole thing. Because once you wrap your head around how an angle head works, like even if you're just wiping with it,
Yes.
now when you're pumping mud through it, man, you can really get moving.
Oh
That
yeah.
I've started doing this, like as I'm coming up from the bottom, I'll spin the box and then push up so there's no break lines.
Uh-huh.
And it's when it works, it's real smooth. Where you go right from the bottom all the way to the top. Because
Hmm.
typically you get to like here and then the box will be in the way, you got to stop. If you can kind of do this spin and push. Um
Yeah.
yeah, it's cool. It's so fluid. I
Yeah.
feel like even sometimes with the boxes, you're dragging them along.
Hmm.
I don't feel that way with the throttle box at all.
No, and that's another thing I was gonna touch on, man. So with my level 5, you can't. I don't know if it's the way that the angle on the stick is, because the one on the throttle box, that one's straight. And when I
Yeah,
first saw that, man, I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work. But I think that's probably the game changer as well, because when you're coming down on those angles with the level 5, you can't go all the way. You can't run it all the way
right.
to the ground. You got to pretty much like stop, about 3 or so feet, and then you flip it, and then you have to go up with it.
Yeah,
With a throttle box, it's just like so smooth. You just run it like nothing.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. I started out going about 3 or 4 feet up the wall from the bottom, and I would do that, and then top down. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. You use it for a little while, and it really is pretty flexible when you're in somewhat tight spots, anyways. Um, you ever color your mud or do anything like that?
I don't, man. I have
Hmm.
also seen that, but no, we don't. We don't do that. And I think we should. I think that that would help.
If you start finding that your coats aren't covering, that's why I started doing it. But I just ran it without color, and I was like, I don't know why I've been using the color. You know what I mean? For the first little while though, I felt accountable to like figure out the tool.
Uh-huh.
I don't think it's as necessary as what I thought it was now that I've used it just with white mud again. Now that I like
Yeah.
know how to run the tool. Um, it's neat though. It does keep you very accountable to your angles though, when you've got the colored mud in there, because you see it all. If there's anything
Yeah.
missing, it's very, very clear. Um,
And so that's what mainly they use it for, right? To basically know what you're missing,
yeah,
what you haven't hit. And
yeah,
then you only use a dab of that, right? Because you also don't want it to be like super blue or super red or whatever color you use, and then probably the painter's gonna hate you.
I got a message from a guy. The first post that I did that, it was on TikTok, and he's like, "Your painter will hate you." And I was like, "Holy shit! Has everyone just been like really polite that I've done this in the past?" So I called my painter buddy, and he's like, "It depends what they're using. Like but you're right. You just want a small tint, just a little bit of a difference. Like if it's like a bright blue, apparently it does flash through." So you do have to kind of watch, right? The other thing I like about some of that stuff, it's actually like a liquid. Like
Mhm.
Circle Brand has some. I used to use just like chalk line chalk, but you end up with little specks of like really dark, and I don't know, it throws you off if it's not mixed properly, and you look up there and there's like
Gotcha.
streaks. Yeah.
Yeah,
So you guys hang your board in tape. Do you prime your work?
we don't.
Yeah, good.
I've been getting a lot of requests for that, man.
Hmm.
And and I mean, we probably should. Like I was telling you earlier, we've been getting a lot of requests for level 4 and level 5
Yeah,
finishes. Like I was telling you, it's not common out here, you know. And I think that if we got into the painting a little bit more, we would be able to kind of like come back and fix whatever little touch ups rather than waiting until the
totally.
painter is done and then we have to come back and touch it up, you know?
Yeah, the nice thing about doing your own is exactly what you said is when you hand it over, it's done and finished. Like there's
Mhm.
no callbacks. No, there might be callbacks, but you know what I mean, where it's never going to be a surprise.
Correct.
When you prime your work, you're good to go. There's also primers that are like the viscosity is quite thick, and it almost I think they're trying to duplicate a level 5 finish with the paint.
Uh-huh.
But I haven't seen it in real life. You guys
And you,
got a sprayer?
I don't.
Yeah, okay.
So
It
like
if you had a mud sprayer, I would be seriously asking you why you weren't priming. So that makes sense.
yeah, so I don't have one. That's why, man. Like
Okay.
I was telling you, we're basically when it comes down to level 5, and let's say if it's a bigger area, what we typically do is we just roll it on, and then
Hmm.
with the big knives, just kind of knock it down, you know, and that's how we've been doing it. But you know, I heard you talking about spraying, and I'm like,
It
might need to
was
get one.
it was pretty dope. Yeah. We're not using a Mark V. We're using another one. It would really be worth looking into if you're going to get into doing a lot of that stuff. I don't know if you need to get right into a Mark V. I'm sure there's something that's kind of mid-range that you could, because you're not going to be doing it all the time either.
hmm
But yeah, it was awesome. Like you're just spraying mud on, and then you're coming back and either wiping or troweling it off, and then a nice tight once it sets up. We did 2 skims of that on that ceiling, and it's crispy. It looks painted.
Really?
It's pretty
And then
sick.
you just come
Yeah.
back and you send it.
Yeah. 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 So you sand it in between, like really lightly, and then you'll come back that last time. But that last time, because you're pulling that, basically you spray it, let it set up, wipe it, and then come back as it kind of starts to set up and wipe it tight. And
Uh-huh.
there's next to nothing on that ceiling. Like very quickly with the Festool tomorrow, it'll be done.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Dang.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, you said something on your stories. You got something new and exciting. New and different were your words. You want to talk about that or no?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, man.
All right, that'd be wicked.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, yeah,
excited.
yeah. So we, you know, like I don't know if you've ever seen my brother. Sometimes he'll hop on my videos. It's so he worked for me when we first started. He worked
Nice.
for me for a whole year. And he's into videos and photography and stuff like that, you know. So if you ever see something that it's like kind of more edited and stuff like that, that's definitely him. It's not
Yeah,
me. Mine is just little time lapse to the point, you know. And so we're gonna be doing more projects, man. And so the goal is to basically bring him on and then him really like emphasizing, you know, the editing part of
yeah,
it. But we're gonna be taking on like more how can I say it? It's gonna be like bigger projects. So it's gonna be more of like a full on like remodel and stuff like that.
excellent.
And just kind of capturing all that, man.
Yeah, and it's always the times where you're in the middle of working where you're like, man, if there was a camera on me right now, that would be wicked. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you had like a dedicated camera editing guy, that'd be great.
Oh yeah.
I did, I've kind of stumbled into what I'm doing, and Steve is a photographer, not a photographer, but he like fully understands video and editing and that kind of stuff. So I'm starting to be able to creep into that as well, where like some shots that would have never been are now happening. So you're like, oh yeah, it's
Yeah,
you
you
gotta
know,
gotta give people credit though. So you know, uh
yes. Sometimes you see some of these guys' content, man. Like for
it's dope.
example, Phil's
Oh
content, man, is so incredible. It's like so smooth and so satisfying to
yeah.
watch, you know? And I'm like, how the hell does he do that?
Well, I've been watching Phil for a long time. The like I think he does body cam sometimes, and like like I don't he must have someone do. I'm actually gonna see him in the next couple of days. I'm gonna ask him. But
Yeah.
his knife work when you just watch him, you know what I mean, like with a broad knife around, it's like, oh, dude, that is so satisfying.
And
It's like one day I'll be a
it's
big
like,
boy
why does he
too.
make it look so easy?
Well, and for some reason, the mud that it's so on point all the time. It's almost fluffy looking, and it all just it does everything perfectly. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't have enough good to say about Phil.
Yeah, because
He's
I
so
see,
positive.
I think Columbia posted a video of him, and he posted it, of him
Mhm.
running the throttle box. And he shows the consistency of the mud and everything, and you're just like, oh man. And you're out there in the field, man, and you mix it, and you're just like, okay, let's try it out. and
Yeah,
and he makes it look too easy, man.
yeah,
And he just hops on the stilts like nothing. He starts wiping, and then it's like he's done.
yeah. I'd say there's a difference between like being really good at something and like damn near mastering it, and I
Yeah,
think that's where that ease all comes in, and I'm sure at a certain point too, your muscle memory just takes over, where you want to do this, and you just do it. It's perfect every time. Eventually, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
The guy we're working with now, Bill, is the same way. It feels like every movement is intentional.
yeah.
There's it, and I don't. He doesn't seem like a person that's wound up about it. It's just
Yep.
he's just been doing it for so long. So yeah, that's great. So how long have you had the throttle box? A couple of months?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
want to say I've had it for 3 or 4 months.
Yeah. I think,
So I was so fortunate, man, to get it before the actual month. And I was just like, gosh, man, this thing is so freaking awesome. And I kind of wanted to post some content about it, and I was like, I better wait.
well, I got into that twice last year where they sent me the stuff early so I could collect the content for it. And yeah, you're so excited about it, but you have to like be quiet about it. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
very
but I mean,
cool.
working with Colombia, man, it's so awesome. They're
Yeah.
wonderful people, and you can tell that they really care.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause every time I reach out, any questions I have, anything, right away they're on it. They're on top of it and everything, man. And I was asking them, like, is it a big company? How is it? And they were telling me that it's a super small family-owned business, man. And I'm like, that makes all the sense, man.
When you have the people that are owning it hands on still, that's a good thing. That's a good
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. There's always a face of a company, and you know what I mean, like Phil or really any of us, where you see them out there, that everything looks great, and then you deal with customer service. Okay, yeah, that's great. All the Instagram stuff and the social media, that's all on point. And then when I met Aaron, it's like this all makes sense. Like you guys are
Mhm.
just here for us, and that's cool. You know,
Yeah,
it
exactly.
and it. I think they're the only ones being made in Canada. I know Can-Am is up here. I don't know where it's all made, but I don't know. There's something to do with it that I really like. But the being made in Canada, it's the
Oh
black
yeah,
and white is cool, man. It's that's always been my color scheme.
yeah. Oh man, black and white, man. That's all I am. And so when I saw their stuff, I was like, oh gosh, man. I first got into it because I was just because of that,
Yeah.
because they were black and white. There's like the gold, the red, the blue, the green. And I
Hmm.
was like, no, man, the black and white, that's just perfect for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It just turns out that they're all awesome. we it just like you just pick the right color. Um,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I always talk about cleaning. It's super straightforward. You just blasting it with a hose kind of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And typically what we do, man, So for example, we'll kind of, if there's nothing on job site for us to clean it, because sometimes there's no water even.
Yeah.
What we'll do is we'll basically hang on to it. Once we're done, we'll either drive it to the car wash and spray them down, or we have a little small pressure washer, man. And I think that thing was only like $100 and something, man. And
Is
it's
it
like it's got so much pressure, man. It's perfect for it.
is it a standalone, or is it like the DeWalt? Is it like a battery powered, or
No, this one's a Ryobi, man.
oh, it's like a power washer.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
but it's
dope.
tiny. It's
Yeah.
tiny, man, and it does the perfect job for this.
Yeah. I got a extendable hose with a sprayer. That's what
Yeah,
I've been using, man. So anything that gives you that little bit of pressure, as long as it's clean before you use it, and then you're cleaning it right after it's done, the mud comes right off of it. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then for example, like that's another thing that I was gonna touch on, man, is like Colombia's products are so easy to clean and
Hmm.
maintain. Like for example, that throttle box. All you have to do is you just open it up, pull the seal, spray it down, make sure that you just take off all the mud, between wherever the mud comes in through. As long as you take that off, it's perfect.
The only place that I find is right in the nose. So I've kind of like stuck my pinky in there a few times, but like you can get it 99% without like
Yeah.
really pushing it. You know what I mean? It's yeah, like I just and now I'm covered in the oil. But I just and I give it a spray. I give it a spray before I put it away, so it's always like lubricated while it's sitting there. And then before I use anything, I give it a spray. But it
Yeah,
seems to be the way to
exactly.
do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even the difficult stuff like the auto taper, it's not super terrible to clean if you're keeping it
Oh,
clean. Um,
mm-hmm.
Aaron kind of gave me shit in Vegas for the way that it looked, and now it's very clean all the time. That's actually what this bracelet is. So that's the cutter chain for the auto taper. Yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah, I saw you posting about that, man.
yeah. So it's like it's a constant clean your shit. That's what it's for.
Are these selling those, man?
The cutter shades, yeah, it's a replacement pack.
And so that's how you made it?
Yeah. So this was so beaten up and rusty because I had let it go to shit that I then took it out, dipped it in whatever it was, CLR, and like made it pretty again. And then I used
Yeah.
the pin that comes with it, and it's on there forever. There's no clasp. It
Huh.
is a constant reminder. And I actually had the cutter in it
Yeah,
for
yeah.
about 3 weeks, and I'll send you the pictures of why we don't have that anymore. I had a couple real good ones. Um, but it's a reminder, right? Just keep your shit clean, right? If you take care of the tools,
Yeah.
they'll take care of you. Or don't, and then buy more. Whatever,
And buy
either
more.
one. Everyone out there.
No, yeah, and that's super important, man. Make sure you keep them clean because these tools, man, I mean, you have to do something so crazy and so stupid for them to not last you, man.
Yeah.
Because they'll last you so long, man. As long as you maintain them, oh gosh,
You just dropped your Predator from like, what did you say was a scaffold
the
top?
scaffold.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I dropped it, and I had my pump right underneath, so the bazooka fell, dropped into the pump, and it fell into the ground. And I picked it up, and I was like, "Oh gosh, man!" I was like, "This is gonna suck." And man, I picked it up. I looked at it; it looked fine, and I kept running, and it ran like nothing.
It's like your one and only mulligan, where you're just like, if this works, I'll make sure this never happens again.
Yeah, exactly.
That's dope, man. I'm so happy that we got on here. That's for some reason I thought Throttlebox month was like February, then March, then April. So I've been badgering you. So that yeah, this was great. I loved having you on. What else do we want to talk about? No. just technique and stuff. But I think we kind of went over that, eh? Where you're just running it. Do you do anything special?
Not really, man. I don't feel like I do something different that other people do, you
Mm-hmm.
know? I think it's basically it's so simple to run it, you know, and I think it's just mainly practice,
I
you
think so
know.
too.
But like I say, you know, the throttle box makes it that much easier because like I was telling you, literally my dad could not really get the hang of the level 5. It
Mm-hmm.
took him a while, a good while. It was like 2 to 3 jobs for him to kind of get the hang of it. I told him, hey, you know, I got this one from Colombia. Give it a shot, guys. Let's see what it's got. And man, he came back with a big old smile, and he's like, man, this thing is so freaking awesome. He's like, I can run this all day. And
Yeah.
he was only so with the level 5, he was only able to run like the bottom section. So basically, just on that a third corner, he would just be able to do the bottom portion of it. He could
Mm-hmm.
not hit the top ones, not even on a 9 foot or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Now he basically he has my brother just wiping on the top, you
That's dope.
know, because
Yeah.
it's so easy. So I mean, it's that much easier, you know, to run it, you know.
Yeah, and if you're finding that you're stretching that kind of stuff, they do have that extra large not matrix handle, the Columbia one handle. I think it goes out to 7 feet. Uh
Oh,
yeah, it's pretty dope. I'll send you a picture of it.
yeah.
It's just the size up. Um, but I love it. I never use it, but I mean I will now that we're getting into 10-foot ceilings. I was
Hmm.
finding there's like a little pad at the very bottom of the handle, and never mind. That was my box handle. There is this little pad though at the bottom where I like slid it up because I was like reefing and I was getting like calloused on my hand, like where my hand was like fucking sore right in here.
Really?
Yeah, well, because I'm holding it funny because I'm trying to run a 4-foot handle on 10-foot ceilings, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and
um,
you're kind of stretched out at that point.
yeah, yeah, running the auto taper on a 10-foot ceiling was brutal. Like doing the top corners, I'm like on my tippy toes, like way up like this. It's just like it's all just front delt, pretty much. Uh, so we got, I don't know. I'll optimistically say 3/4 through the site, and my shoulders just started giving out, so I like had to go take a
Yeah.
break. But I'm either
And you
getting on.
gotta hop on those stilts, man.
Yeah, dude. I actually have a video of me like Bambi walking with some stilts on.
Oh,
It's
really?
it's
Oh, so
pretty.
you're barely getting into the stilts.
Yeah.
Nice.
The problem is I'm realistically probably 290, and most stilts are rated to 225. So I've got to find somebody that builds one that's like I don't want to be worrying that they're gonna fail. Does that does that
No,
make
oh
sense?
no, they won't, man. They
I know,
won't.
I know that, but honestly though, that whatever that 12 inches or 18 inches or whatever the smallest I can get, that's going to make a huge difference with a 10-foot
Yeah.
ceiling. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh, it's night and day. And like for example, man, so even on 9 foot ceilings, man, sometimes I find it easier to just hop up there, you know?
Hmm.
Like there's times where, for example, if I start the house, like so we'll start pre-filling and everything, you know, and sometimes I'll start in a smaller area by myself.
Yeah,
And so I'll start hitting all the bottom stuff, and sometimes I almost catch up to the guys. And so what I end up doing is like I just hop on the stilts and my brother and I will just get on top and we're
dope.
just running the bazooka and wiping at the same time up in the top. And it's so much easier, man, because you're not having to reach like you say. That's brutal,
It's
man.
it's a lot easier on your body, is what it sounds like, and
Oh
that's
yeah.
it's. I'm not getting any younger. Uh, okay, you got any shout outs you want to do? We got about 5 minutes left.
Oh yeah, no, huge shout out to Columbia Tools, man,
That's
especially man for just always being so freaking awesome and allowing us to do what we do, man. So a huge shout out to them. Huge shout out to Aaron for always answering, man, whenever there's questions and
Mhm.
stuff. And tell Aaron, man, he needs to stop and keep posting more content because his content is on point, man. So
Yeah, the like fabrication content, I was starting to really like that.
yeah.
I
So when
was
he was
like,
posting about the
yes.
boxes,
Yeah.
you know, when he was like showing how to put them together, how to change the blades and stuff, dude, like he needs to keep doing stuff like that, man, because we need it, you know?
Yeah. The all of that stuff is on YouTube. When I got back from Vegas, I hopped on the YouTube page. Some of it's like almost 20 years ago.
Aaron
It's
needs to
awesome though. I love it. Yeah, redo it, Aaron. Let's go.
exactly. Exactly.
So Throttlebox month. Thank you very much, everybody. Where can we find you? What platforms are you on?
We're just on Instagram right now, man. I mean, we have it on Facebook, but we don't really post on there at all, to be
Same.
honest. It's
Is it
mainly
a
on
copy
Instagram.
paste? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So we're just on Instagram and our hashtags is Itzcali Construction and follow us, you know, follow us for more content. As like I was telling you, we're gonna create a lot better content. So
I'm
stay tuned for
excited for
that.
that. And on the
Yes.
other side of his page is the food. That's I'm not sure which I like better now because it's see, man, you guys you eat some pretty serious food, man. I like that.
Oh man, that's my passion right there, man. I
Yeah.
gotta feed myself well.
All right. Be humble. Treat everyone the same and do your fucking job.